Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to this deep dedication to light. It takes dedication. I can see that. For us to be dedicated to who we truly are rather than the idea. And to start with infinite light of being. All the power that we are. And hear that voice. We need that voice every day. I see every day even more. To be guided deep into where the denials are, and seeing these little back currents and back eddies, and just being with Jesus on every one. And now we can see it. And to speak with the voice of truth, so we can discern the voices. He's calling it the voice of the serpent. And to really see what voice is coming out of our mouth, even as soon as it comes out, to try to conceptualize what Jesus is telling us. It's helpful when we're really learning to speak what he's teaching us and what how he's teaching us to unlearn through these joining sessions. There's really not a lot of talk in the sessions. Feels helpful to say that, to remind. It's really listening to his words and speak them as they're given right now. And staying very, very present with what he's saying right now. What specific desire? Ask him, focus specific on that desire, and don't, because leave it, because the mind wants to, okay, and here's something new. See, it's all about, and this is such good light training, to hear his voice and stay with what he's telling you. Stay with that energy of desire, that pure wanting of whatever he's pointing to. Because consciousness will play not to look at that itch. It stays, if we laugh, as we talked about, it stays up in the kerfuffling, in the emotions, and you can hear it from your brother start to talk about, as soon as you go to that desire, you can see that emotion, that charge is the emotion's gonna dry up. Because you're with the wanting, you're with before emotions arise. You stay with that. And you'll catch the rising up of the play of consciousness and be able to just be in the desire and let the desire bloom, rather than all the energetic investment in the story and that's what he keeps saying. Really stay with the wanting of what he's showing. He says, yes, stay with the wanting of it. The itch for no. And keep going. Okay, is there more to see on this right here? Don't leave that one thing, stay with them. Okay, what about that? Stay with it. So it can just keep those bubbles. He'll show it, reveal those subconscious bones that are buried down there. The no bones, the desire to keep death. At least it's been helpful here. Very, very helpful. And still little bubbles rise up. It just, they get caught faster. We're catching them and letting him, just giving them over. He's really showing the deep no. That's what it feels like. This is the deep, the dark. He's taken us to what we think is so dark and so horrific that we can't look at it, just to see, oh, I really wanted that dark, deep. Wanted the deep darkness. And watching the consciousness shark move, Donna, as we said, watch it just really, instead of being so involved in it, you know, just be more, look at that thing honing in. And where we're just making decisions by ourselves. Well, I know Jesus doesn't want me to do that, but I'm going to do it anyway, you know. Like it's just usurping the power of God, you know, that's all. Another play. Like Jesus, just the light's not involved in all that. Doesn't get involved. It just invites. Come over here. Just invites. So he's saying to really look at the desire to experience pain and deeply. So that's what we're doing today. Again, chapter 17, and just being with that wanting pain. Then you just yawn out the energy. When he shows it to you, show that deep tension. It's like the reflections, like Rita saying, golly, my jaw used to be so tight. It's so relaxed now. Because that's the reflection in physical form of where the mind is. You know, as we said, you get the smooth forehead. I had a forehead like a Klingon. Really?
Oh my God.
That's so funny. Look like a Klingon. All those symbols in consciousness that appear to remind us, you know, as he says, you know, it's the serenity. Jesus, is my natural state serenity. He says, he actually says, you don't actually know any other states. There isn't another state other than serenity. He says, it's beyond a state. I'm having a talk with him about, you know, it's not really a state, but you can't really, you know, just think of light, infinite light, you know, it doesn't, it's just here. And the ego says, oh, that's boring, that. We can ask him, Jesus, do I have a desire to be bored about the light? That's the play. The light's infinite love, and light is boring. So we're going to go get some excitement. So we were talking about pain as an idea you enjoy and revel in the experience as experience. So let's just do a light check. First of all, infinite light of being, no pain in there. Can we find pain in light? Is there any memory in there? I said, Jesus, memory's pain, isn't it? He goes, yep. Takes memory to have pain. Remember how he says the Son of God remembered not to laugh? Pain is where it takes memory not to laugh. That's so humbling. It really is. Gets so humbling. But that's the way he said, that humility of seeing that you are wrong. Like every time you think, oh, I can't possibly get more wrong. Like he says, you can't tell your advances from your going backwards because we're so upside down and confused. The desired experience to be upside down and backwards, to wear our feet backwards. We think we're moving forward, but we're actually not moving at all. If you look in the light of divine being, is anything moving in there? Not moving at all. So pain is the addiction to the moving. So consciousness is a little moving factory. Ask Jesus, is a consciousness like a moving factory? It's called make something that moves and pretend like that's you. Is that what's happening? I mean, yeah, make something that moves. Is that's what happened, Jesus? On what the unmoving, getting fully in the dance of the moving and going, that's me. And I like it. You can ask when you really start thinking, and like that's experience here, and it's like, oh my gosh, yes, I want it. You're right. Yep, it's relish all the way down. Relish it to the last bit of energy that can possibly be expended. Relishing pain to the last drop of it. You can see that. It's not so funny when you're looking directly, but then it's really funny after that energy clears out of the one, you know, I'm gonna hang on to pain and death if it's the last thing I do. And you know, and you can see that there's just light here. It's like light. And even you're even looking at it. And we've had these conversations in the joining, and you're looking at it, you know, and you just know it's just not true, and you want it anyway. Like, you know, it's abjectly impossible to have it. It's abjectly impossible for the light. And then he takes you down, and it's like into the pay dirt of holy smokes, I do want this. Oh my God. Yep. That little Geiger counter. I mean, not Geiger, you can use a Geiger counter, but I mean, the little metal detector on the beach, and you're going down the beach with Jesus, and he's going, want, and it's there, and you just want to run away from that. Jesus. And then you start negotiating. Okay, this was a nice find here, but let's go over here and look in this hole over here. You see, you know, because the ego likes to decide where all the holes and where to look. Oh my gosh, we'll just be digging on the beach for another couple of eons there. looking on the beach without going with Jesus and going and really look. That's the point of it. And just watch the play. What happens as soon as he points something out? Everybody laughs because she starts. You know, like you've never taken a ride on a banana boat, but you want to frighten. Right in that moment, you really want to find one because the consciousness does not want to see that. No. And it's such a great gift just to be with them and just go, okay, go ahead, give it to me, you know, and let it, that energy of that desire just feel it. Just go, oh, yes, I want this. Oh, yes, I want it. So again, staying with pain, it's so helpful. It's so helpful. That's all I can only say for here, you know, it's love. It's love to say that. To look so directly when pain comes up and just go ahead. Okay, give it to me, Jesus. Show me how much I really relish this as experience. He's definitely, I'm asking about, just so I'm totally clear, and that's the experience here. He's taking us right where all the places on the beach where we don't want the miracles. So we, at first we run around on the beach. This is really great. And we take our little shovels and thank you, Jesus, you know, in the first little thin layer of sand, as long as I don't have to go too deep with you, you know, it's all right. And we take a little, he's going, no, I'm asking him. That's what he's saying. He's saying, no, stay with me and let me direct you to where the miracles are that you do not want. Where you do not want miracles. So we can see it in fullness, the denial of the miracle. And then he can really, you know, like, then it's, you remember that line, reading it, whatever it is that he's showing in that moment, reading it and then just seeing, oh, yes, I do relish pain. I see it. Boy, do I see how much I relish it. But then it can be released to miracle just by seeing it and staying with the energy of it. Not a lot of talking in between. He's saying no. Just stay purely, if he shows you a desire, stay with it. And let him show you fully that desire. How much do I want this, Jesus? Okay. Actually, Ray, could you go in my room, get my water bottle? Okay. Infinite happiness is always yours. It's good to be reminded. And reminded that we really don't know what infinite happiness is, and that we don't want it, one shred of it. That's helpful. Thank you. Oh, I'll just take a sip, thanks. Yeah, to be reminded, Jesus, again, do I know what infinite happiness is? Because we're so sure that we're happy right now. That's the play. Even though we're not happy, we don't even see how desperately unhappy. We can ask him, Jesus, do I not even see how desperately unhappy I am? Just see what he says. He said it just can't be known because the play in consciousness is such a cover over for supreme happiness. It's such a cover over when we're not feeling good to put it out there on God or a brother or a because, rather than look directly to see that it's a denial to cover over. And I've asked him so many ways, and you can find for yourself and see what he says. What he says here is that he says no exceptions to this. That's what he's telling me right now. You have to look directly at what that denial, because you won't release it to a miracle without seeing how much you want it. And he says, because the wanting of it will keep it down there in the darkness. He says, this is the way given. This is the way given, to look at the wanting, to keep. He says, I said, every time I don't follow you, that's a wanting to keep, isn't it? And he says, yes. You know, he does keep working with us. Pain is an idea that you enjoy and revel in as experience while claiming you do not know it. Okay, Jesus, am I claiming that I don't know that I'm reveling in pain? That's all he's saying, is just see how much you really relish that pain. You just won't feel as subject to it anymore. Oh, thank you, love. That's the experience that he's telling me. Pain is the idea that you enjoy, and an idea that you enjoy and revel in as experience while claiming you do not know it. This is face of innocence, the denial that you do have the power to both create suffering and dispel it. Jesus, in the honesty of God, in the light of divinity, do I have all the power to dispel pain and suffering right now? And he says, you need miracles because you want to keep it. Jesus, even though I have the power to dispel it all, do I want to keep it? Do I want to keep suffering? Extend out a little timeline? Keep my little fiefdom, as he said. It is very simple. So we were talking about this yesterday. It feels really good to review again. Cease to deny what is already yours. What no pain, suffering, anger, or hatred can hide from you unless you choose for it seem to be so. So might as well give the honesty of God test. Do the light test. Are we infinite light of being? Is Jesus telling you anything else? It's so expansive. Infinite. Okay. Just notice what's infinite. Now we can go to Jesus and ask him directly. Is pain, suffering, anger, or hatred trying to hide me? Am I trying to hide in all that? I trying to hide from myself in that? Hide from divine light in that? And is there still any desire? Do I still have any feeling like I need to be punished for creating a body? He says pain is the punishment you inflict on yourself for having a body. So I asked him, because I've been looking at like the itch for a body. Can I keep looking at that? He says, yes. Can we look at that with you? Like how much we really, really want to have a body? Even though we can't have one? Is a body natural to us? Let's ask him. You can hear him. No. Body's not natural. Yet, here it is. How did that happen? You can't ask how it happened. You just have to ask them, show me. Will you show me how it can't happen? I'm determined to make it happen, so I need some help to see that it can't happen whatsoever. Okay. There is neither future nor past unless you choose it for it to seem to be so in your experience. He says that's a body, future and a past. We get a little, there's a little accent going on out there to accent everything. You know what's good about all these little explosions here in San Juan or in the area, like just generally Mexico, because it's, I can't remember the significance, but they explode a lot of fireworks. And you get deconditioned very quickly from explosions. The point where you just don't have impact on you anymore, you know, which is the natural state. It's not it is not our natural state. You can ask Jesus, is it our natural state when to react to something in form? Because that denies that we're peace. The peace is not, see that the light's not involved if there are bombs blowing up. So we can just ask him, Jesus, so is the past and the future a chosen experience? Is that something I'm choosing?
Yeah.
There's so much love in this, you know, he was showing me about how when you follow divine expression through a prompt, it's infinite expression because there's no miscreation in it, can't have miscreation, and how it's celebrating infinitely. And it's beautiful. And that's why you can ask them when you hear something, you can always ask them, is this divine expression or keeping limitation alive? It's very interesting how consciousness plays, like if we don't follow prompts and how it attacks. So it attacks, if we hear the prompt, it's going to attack, you know, you get a lot of doubt thoughts. And and it also attacks if you don't follow the prompt. Because it's going to come back and you're going to feel guilty. See, because you're not in divine expression anymore. So then it's, and then you're going to, a kerfuffle, because it's a desired experience to attack yourself for not following. You see, look, you didn't follow, and here it is. Now I can laugh at this now, but you know, my dad used to say something like that when something bad would happen. He'd say something like that. You see what happened? God punished you. That's what he, or something like that. It's like, obviously, that was a desired experience. Because we have the desire for God to punish us if we don't follow. So God's not punishing us if we don't follow. We punish ourselves for not following. We punish ourselves because we feel guilty, and then we don't want to look at the guilt and all the, it's the cover over. And yes, it does go beyond this life, because sometimes you just like, and several beings have reported that. They've said, you know, I just wanted to kill myself. But at least the ego's out front, you know, then you can really look that it's a desired experience, because we believe salvation is in death of a body, and then we'll be at peace. It's good, really good one to look at directly to see what's saying it wants to die. I remember this must be helpful somewhere, because Jesus is saying to talk about it. So that's at a program that I was working, a Tony Robbins program. And I guess I'll have to find out what the purpose, but, and there was this guy came up, and they will write on their application, okay, you know, I've tried, I want to kill myself or whatever, and they'll have that on. So you kind of know. Sometimes you don't know, you don't find out, you wouldn't find out until you're having a conversation with someone or whatever. But they, at these tea meetings, you know, you just, you know, it was a healing. It really is a very healing, for many beings, those programs. And for me, it was healing, because it was seeing past the false and not being like cow tipped by anything, like, because all kinds of things were arising there. Anyway, it came up to me, and I was talking to him. I said, so I just talked to him directly about it. It's really amazing when you care with spirit. I just sort of say, okay, so like, when's the first time that you wanted to kill yourself? You know, that the spirit just doesn't beat around the bush.
Yeah.
And he said, and we started talking about it, and I said, and we just got in a conversation about it, and it just bloomed into his awareness that when he was 5, his father, he went to a funeral, and he saw his father cry for the first time because his friend had died. And he linked in the mind, got linked. This is how the consciousness plays, to love, that he would be loved more if he killed himself. So all you have to do is look to see that love is linked. Love was linked. So this is how consciousness plays. It links the idea of love, which is, so the belief in the mind was that salvation comes from killing yourself. From that. And that's how consciousness plays. And you'll see that play come up too on the spiritual journey. You know, I just feel like I want to kill myself. Because the belief in so deep buried in the subconscious mind that death is the solution. It's just like I talked about going into the prison that time to coach those two guys that had been in my class, and they were both in for seemingly killing someone. And we know for sure from Jesus, even the thought of killing someone is not any different from killing someone. But in that case, it was helpful for me to take a deep look at the ideas about killing and guilt. And when I was asking, and I went into that session and I just asked him, okay, so what belief made it okay? That was helpful for me when he said, I believed that was the only way. And you can see how beliefs are driving all the behavior, and consciousness arises out of belief. I believed that that was the only way. The belief was that salvation lied in seemingly killing another. But we do the same thing in our mind in the play of consciousness. You know, so that's for me to see, to really look. It was to look at all the concepts I had about one being seemingly killing another before I really understood in the course that we kill each other in the mind all the time. How much consciousness likes that play of bodies coming and going, and some being special and some die. And it's really helpful when Jesus told me, when you go to a funeral and you feel sad, it's because you're feeling guilty over having a body. It's not for another. And seeing how deeply we need to look with him at the desire for pain, and how we're driven by things in consciousness that we don't even see, that we're completely outside of our awareness. I can see why he's reminding me of these stories, to be reminded of how so driven by these little storylines and these little beliefs that we don't even know what's driving us, what's driving the cart, without him going in and saying, let me show you what's driving you to suffering. The desire for pain and suffering and death, that it's so deeply ingrained there down. I just, like, the more I look, the more I realize I can't find those without him, without asking him. And be willing to look too. That willingness is really. This is where you learn what you are choosing for you can see that you have been choosing against what is most holy and natural to you, all that is given by the Father, infinite love. This course is really about all or nothing. There's no midpoint at which divine nature and the idea you have created of yourself meet. So we can see that. Let's look in the light of divine being. In the infinite light of being. Does infinite light know choice? Can we find choice in infinite light? Can we find pain in infinite light? So in truth and honesty of God, does a concept of a person exist? Does anything exist in light? Any ideas? So Jesus, are we really fighting here to keep what does not exist? He says you're fighting desperately to keep it. To keep what happened, what can't happen. See that there's no choice. In infinite light of being, there's just what is. That's what we're seeing together. And then join quickly, as he says, join quickly with me in a moment of light. To speed dial our brother, to look and to really focus on the choice. The reason we don't accept miracles is because we want choice. You can ask Jesus that so you can hear him, because you can hear him just as well. Jesus, do I suffer because I really want choice and don't want to give it up? I want to pretend like I can choose, and choosing is too. You can see and stay with him on the desire for choice, that wanting, that itch. It's like the world would end, kind of. If I don't have choice. Jesus, I'm willing to look to see if there's the tiniest smidgen of choice. He says, every time you're upset, you're wanting choice, he says. Okay, thanks for the reminder. Can you keep reminding me? He says, anytime you feel a twitch, you want a choice. The tiniest twitch, choice. Oh, there isn't a middle ground. Jesus, am I trying to create a middle ground between divinity and my self-concept that I want to keep? And you hear him, yep. That's going to hurt, isn't it, Jesus? Yep. Ask him, is that going to hurt as long as I'm like hanging on to not looking at these desires, the wanting to keep a self-concept in place? He says, you'll be miserable. You want it. You want that misery more than you want God. And when that's the experience here, like when and start showing you want choice more than God. I'm going to look right now. So make sure that's clear. Jesus, is there any desire to have choice more than God? I'm willing to see it. See, because God's one and choice goes boom, two. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt really bad. That's running below the level of awareness, that hunt for choice and form. Okay, let's go deep. I'll sit with him on a session, whatever he show me, whatever he's willing to show me through my brother. It's like, okay. That's why it's wonderful to join beings contacting me. It's like, of course, if Jesus said join, I'm hitting that button. Because I know my brother brings Oh my gosh. And when you really start seeing this, like even talking about it, like how your brother brings happiness right to your doorstep. You know, how you get flowers delivered, you know, 1-800-flowers. This is 1-800-God. At the doorstep, that's what you see, bringing a gift. And then you can also see how you don't want them either. Don't want that gift today, don't want that joining today. But you see, you do it anyway. I'm asking Jesus, he says yes. Like Kirsten said, do you know how many times I have said no to the ego? Jesus, will it be a lot? He says, yes. For most beings, yes, it will be a lot. Because it's really wanted that play and consciousness, that pretending, that sharp pretend game. Here goes. Moving across, looking for that problem. We were looking at problems, actually deep look at problems. Oh, golly, that supreme happiness. Even talking about looking at problems with him, you know, and see that wanting of it, that just clears some closets out. How much problems are just desired experience. Because you have to have someone to solve it. Who's that one? To have problems. I can see it, wanting it, just wanting it with every bit of. But that's why we have the one, to show us that there are no problems. There's only God. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. Love you all.